going on, everyone? Welcome to episode number 15 of the Creator Series here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed a Sacramento hip-hop artist. His name is Alex Live. I've been talking back and forth with Alex since probably January. We've been talking about collaborating. I sent him some beats and everything, and he's actually going to be out in California when we go out on a secret trip, and we're doing a secret album that I will not disclose to you at this time, but just know there's some things in the works musically. But I sat with Alex for a little over an hour today, and he explained to me a lot of things I didn't even know about him. Like, he explains the story of how he had a heart attack around 20 years old, and how that kind of opened his eyes to shift from being a baseball player, and that was one of his passions, into getting back into hip-hop, and how his girl kind of inspired him to pick up the mic again and start writing and rapping again. And his life has just been crazy over the past 3 or 4 years, and I was kind of just blown away by the story he had. He talks about his new album that's coming out in October, and kind of the theme behind that, and how he's been putting the skits and everything together, which I'm looking forward to hear. And man, this was a very inspiring conversation, and I was getting goosebumps a lot of the times what he was talking about in here, so I'm not really gonna give away the entire episode right now, but let's get right into it. All right, welcome everyone to episode number 15 of the Proven Knowledge Podcast, the Creator Series. Today we're joined by a Sacramento, California artist. He's a hip-hop artist. He goes by the name of A-Live, a.k.a. Alex Live. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Awesome, man. Like I said before we hopped on here, I appreciate you getting back with me about being on the show, and we've been talking back
Absolutely.
and forth. Me and you have been talking back and forth since like January and all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm glad to get you on the show today. So,
Yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, man. To begin every episode, I kind of just have the artist kind of explain kind of how long they've been doing music, how they got into it, where your name comes from, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so for me, bro, like, I'm 24. I'm from Sacramento. Growing up, I kind of, I witnessed, a lot of, like, abuse, and not only, like, physical abuse, but, like, drug abuse as well. And, like, my dad wasn't really around. So, like, for me, I, grew up thinking baseball was kind of my only plan. And then in high school, just the transition from, like, playing for fun to going super competitive, that little transition there, for me, I just kind of lost passion for it. And so I went on Amazon, bought a mic and a interface for, $50, and kind of, because when I was younger, I would rewrite, like, Bow Wow verses. Like, I would take Bow Wow verses and just relate them to my life. I'd keep the flow and everything. And so it was kind of always like a spark in the back of my head. But kind of when I took a season off of baseball, kind of like pursued it mentally. Like, I knew this was fun. This is what I enjoyed doing. But like everyone around me was like, no, like, baseball is what you need to do. That's your go-to. So just like sold everything I had, just like made a quick 50 back on, all the equipment. Kept pursuing baseball, ended up, getting a pretty good scholarship. And then, had a heart attack, actually.
Oh.
So I was just in the gym one morning, just working out, had a heart attack. And then, like, I kind of had, like, a weird, like, premonition dream. And I actually, like, play that out as the intro to my album. So, like, what I saw when I was having a heart attack mentally, that's what I brought to life in the album. And so, the doctors kept on saying, like, man, you're lucky to be alive. You're lucky to be alive. But you can't go back to doing this. You can't go back to doing that. You got to change how you're living. And then so for me, I was like, I finally got a scholarship. I gotta just keep grinding. Gotta get back in the gym. Kind of ignored all the doctor's advice, and then, everyone just kept telling me, like, baseball may not be it now, because your heart, but you're alive. I'm like, yeah, like, I keep hearing that, but I feel like I'm missing something, And then, just went back to school, met my girl, and then she went through my phone, of course, and then went through my notes one time and I had tons of lyrics, choruses, melodies, and she was just like, why don't you pick this back up? Like, she was the one person that was kind of like, saw the passion there and was like, just go do it, who cares? And so that was kind of it, bro. Like, she really just, like, told me, like, hey, go try it. Like, the stuff I'm reading is dope. So just, see what you can make of it. And, and then here I am about 2 years later, dropping my second project and just third project, but second now. And, it's dope, bro. It's crazy to see, like, the lifestyle change, Yeah. I mean, going from baseball 24/7 to just grinding in the studio and, like, for baseball, it's like, all right, you got to grind for the end with, a championship or like at the end of the season. But for music, bro, it's such like gratification, going and writing a dope verse, or that you knock in a day. And so it's been a hell of a ride. It's been awesome.
Well, that's an incredible story, man. Like, first and foremost, I didn't even know a lot of that story till just now, so that kind of shocks me as well. And, like, I think that just goes to show that, like, in life, like, a lot of the times we don't really know, like, where we're going to end up. Like, we're kind of just along for the ride, you know what I mean? Like, you probably had no 100%. Idea that any of that was going to happen, like, a few years ago.
100%, bro, yeah.
Like, here you are.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it was 3 days before I turned 21, So I'm 20 years old, having a heart attack, in the hospital, it's saying, like, something's wrong with your heart, you can die from this, and that's it's just crazy to be 20 years old and having a surgeon tell you something's wrong with your heart, you know what I mean?
Yep. And like you said, you had a great love for baseball too, as well as music, so, like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it was almost like it was supposed to happen that way, though, for you to get to where you're at now. Like, even if you didn't see it at the time, it's
exactly.
almost like it was meant to be. So that's really incredible, like I said. But as far as, like, how I kind of view, like, the sports versus the music thing, like you were talking about in sports, it's more like a team game, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be very a part of a team, and unless the whole team is all together and working well, nothing's going to work. Like, you're never going to win games, you're never going to do this, that, and the third. But, like, I feel with music, it's very much, it's important to still work with people, but it's very much something you can do as an independent, like, just you. And you can just,
100%.
Like you said, you can get a mic and your laptop and just record and just start making music and just grind, like, that way. You know what I mean? It's like
and you're manifesting something. Like, you have an idea that you're literally bringing to life, And that's something I've always, like, I don't know, I've always been drawn to stuff like that. I've always, like, when I was younger, I liked drawing, but I sucked, you know what I mean? And then, like, in high school, when I started rapping, I sucked, you know what I mean? And I always thought, like, if you're great at something, you should be able to pick it up and do it perfect every single time. You know what I mean? Because for me, like, I started playing baseball at 2. I picked up a ball, was hitting a ball, throwing a ball perfectly. You know what I mean? And so for me, like I said, I started, trying to draw. I sucked, quit, started rapping. People told me I sucked. I quit, and then just kind of went back to what I knew when, in reality, who knows, like, I could have been, Picasso or, whatever, you know what I mean? It's really all just it's how far you push yourself. You can drop an album, and if you don't, get the plays you expected, you could be done, but then your next album could get you signed. It could get you the biggest placement ever. And I'm sure as a producer, you experience that all the time.
Oh, man. Like, even I remember, like, when I first started, I was just afraid of, like, I'm just going to be shit at this, and I'm going to have to figure out what else to do. But then I was just like, I don't know what it was. I just kept doing it every day, and I'm just like, the only way I'm going to get better is by doing this every day. Like, I'm not just going to become great right off the bat. I need to do this consistently, day after day, year after year, to get really good at it, because that's the only way it's going to happen. I can't just be like, well, I had, like, a rough, like, month, let's just give up. Like, I don't know, there was something that was just kind of like, I enjoyed doing it, and I just had the understanding of, like, that's what it takes, you know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of people don't have the understanding of that when it comes to like they want to try something new or they want to do things, and that's why a lot of people quit is just because they don't understand that it's like you have to be in it for the long haul. You know what I mean? It's not just like overnight. It's just gonna happen. It's like
exactly.
you really gotta.
It's just like when you make a beat, or when you make a song, it's not just putting it out.
Yeah.
It's you gotta sell it to people. You gotta make people want it.
Uh-huh.
You gotta create either a storyline to like a video. You know what I mean? Like a music video to really bring that song to life. Because anyone can make a great song and put it out and have nothing happen to it. And then someone can make a song that's 98% exactly like that, and they promote it and they get a video to it, and that song blows up. You know what I mean? Because I've heard that so many times in music where I'm like, oh, this song sounds just like this song, but this song's way bigger because it's dropped right now. You know what I mean? It's dropped with all this publicity,
It's really just having the understanding of presentation as well, because like you just said, if a song is like similar to another song, someone could just put the song out and expect it to do well, and then it doesn't. But if this person has all this other stuff to go with it that's going to help people understand it better, then it's going to catch on more. So
exactly,
that's very well put, though. So another question that I've kind of been starting every episode out with is just, I know we were talking before we kind of got on the podcast about COVID and all this stuff that's been happening. What do you think has been the experience for you this year with that whole thing? And, like, have you learned any new skills? What has been kind of like a struggle for you during this time or anything like that?
So, yeah, man, when the COVID news broke, when they canceled the NBA season and everything like that, I was actually in the middle of a show.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so everyone there was like, "Oh, what? That's not true." Blah 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 blah. And we just finished the show. Everything continued, and then boom, 24 hours later, everything's closed. And so for me, it's actually not gonna lie. At first, it was a little bit scary, because I do have a 1-year-old son. And then 4 days after we got the news, after we were out at my show. Me and my wife, we were at my show. Obviously, our son wasn't there, but we come home to him, and then 4 days after the news broke, he had 104 temperature. And so we're freaking out, obviously. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Luckily, it was just like a teething fever, so it was a couple days. But for me, like creative-wise, I think it's been awesome. Just because, like, I've had so much time to really, like, focus on what I want out of this. You know what I mean? Like, I spent so much time on my first project, and even I dropped a quarantine EP, which was just, like, improving. I felt like, you know what I mean? Because for Sacramento rappers, like, when you hear of a Sacramento rapper, I don't fit that image. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fall into that category. My style isn't like a Sacramento style. So for me, prove I can rap better than this person or just as good as this person. And on this last album, I kind of, during quarantine, because of this album, I throw all that out the window. Just been like, the music's going to speak for itself. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't have to prove anything. It's more about the vibe. I'm trying to bring things to life. I'm trying to, make a great song. I'm not trying to prove anything anymore, and for me, like, creative, amazing. Because now I'm experimenting, like, with my voice, like, on this album, like, I'm doing such different, like, instead of just spitting, just like spitting bars, because like that's a huge part of rap, but at the same time it's like that's not really where it's at right now. You know what I mean? It's I definitely see the trend of, like, a lot of rappers sound the same because the goal is to get a song on the radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I was saying, like, the free time, I think, like, just having that free time of being able to kind of evaluate, like, what you need to do better and like what you haven't done a lot of and things like that. That kind of helped me, and I think that's kind of what you were getting at, was like you were able to kind of see like the points you wanted to focus on with your album and kind of where you wanted to take the direction of your music as well. So
yeah, I mean, because I feel like everyone, and I mean, I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone, but I feel like a lot of people are really taking a lot in during quarantine. You know what I mean? Like, the world's crazy right now with everything going on, but not only because of the pandemic, you know what I mean? Because, you know, just injustice and everything that's going on in the world, it's a lot, you know, like, and being an artist, I feel like we have so much stress already, you know, and then now knowing, like, because of COVID that, you know, we can't go out and, you know, perform or even, like, be around people to share your music, you know what I mean? It's given people a lot of time to, you know, focus on, like, who they are, which is, I think, is great, but at the same time, I feel like it's eaten a lot of us up, you know what I mean? And as artists, we struggle with stress, anxiety, you know, I feel like more than just the average person, because we're literally letting people into our mind, you know, like literally letting them into our heads and letting them know all of our, you know, deepest insecurities or darkest, like, moments, and being judged for them, you know, and then, like, having to wake up knowing all these people, you know, even if people love you, you still have people that don't, you know what I mean? So being able to, like, or, you know, having to deal with that on top of waking up in a world that's going crazy, you know, and the weather, even, you know, even the weather's going nuts right now. So it's like we're in a tough time as artists right now, producers, engineers, everything right now, you know?
I think really I've heard a lot of like different answers to the question and just kind of like different ways that people have been trying to get through it. And I know like a lot of people have been trying to like take their mind off of things by doing things they've never done before. I mentioned last week on an episode that I like, when the whole thing hit, I kind of went on like walks, and I would just walk around like the driveway or something and just like take in like nature, you know what I mean? Like something I would never do, but just like kind of like free your mind almost if you can for a little bit. And then like go back to
reality for a second, you know.
And like I think that helped with like my focus too, is just like being able to just get away for a bit and then come back to what I was doing and then like really get stuff done after that. But but it is hard to block out like all the shit that's been happening. So, but it's just we gotta try to do our best, I think, as much as possible. And it's good that we have like, you know, each other to go to, kind of like this right now is just like this is like a great thing that we can have like a conversation right now like this, even though we're on like completely different sides of the country and everything. So like reaching out to people, that's another great way, I think, to kind of get through a tough time like this.
Just disconnect from your daily routine, you know, just find something. Like I picked up reading, bro. And like for me, like I've never been a big reader. You know, I hated reading growing up. But now it's like, it's such, like your mind literally opens up to a whole different like story. You know what I mean? And so it's been like a good escape for me.
I've definitely been meaning to read more. I need to get some more books or get like ebooks or something and do that.
Yeah, ebooks are awesome, dude, honestly.
They say that like reading more really helps like expand your mind and everything, and like really it just opens up a new perspective for you. So that's definitely something I want to get into. What do you think so far through your career has been kind of the best piece of advice you've been given at all? Could be in business, could be in just how to record or something like that, studio etiquette. Like, what has been a great piece of advice that you've kind of ran with?
I mean, for me, honestly, it's just been like to just kind of do your thing, like regardless of, you know, what you think the radio wants or what you think your fans want. Like, do what you think, or you know, do what brings you happiness. You know, if you're making songs that you're not happy about, or if you're, you know, just doing something just to pop off and then hope that, you know, that doesn't catch up to you, you're doing it wrong. You know, so it's just like stick to your gut, stick to what you you know, what you feel like is going to pay off, because in the end, at the end of the day, you've got to live with yourself. You know what I mean? So if you're doing something for someone else, you're going to wake up one morning and you're not going to be where you want to be, you know? So
I saw an interview with Logic not too long ago. He put out his last album, and it was an interview about him and why he's retiring and everything. And he kind of like gave a similar explanation. He was like, "I'm not really happy anymore with like just trying to please all these people. Like everyone keeps coming at me. They want me to do this, this, and this." And he's like, "I just want to do what I want to do and what brings me joy. I don't want to do what everyone else is telling me to do anymore." So like, he's like, "I did this album the way I wanted to do it, and I'm just going to leave it at that and just be done because that's what makes me happy." And he wanted to go be with his family and just live a normal life. And I was like, see, when he explained it like that, I understood what he meant. Because, like, a lot of people didn't get, like, why he was just going to walk away or whatever. And they felt like, you know, he's only, like, 30 whatever years old. He's got a lot more to go. But, like, when he said it like that and the way he, like, explained it, I really like saw where he was coming from and everything. So
and he's a dad now, you know, and you know, us dads, like, you can't be doing something that's gonna bring you negativity, because like for me, like as soon as I leave the studio, I'm home, you know, with him, you know, so it's like I can't be bringing, you know, this unhappiness of something I'm choosing to do, you know. So if you, like I said, if you're not doing your own thing and you're kind of doing it for someone else, and you're mentally or even have like a pit in your stomach about it, you're bringing that home, you know, to who you live with, you know. And like being a dad, especially, you know, it's dope for him that he can retire and take care of his family for life. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome. You know, like that's a dream come true, not only for him but for his kids, you know, for his future kids. So, you know, it's definitely, you know, staying in your own lane, I think, is the only thing that you can do to even stay original, you know, because once people hear a song that sounds like something else, they'll check out of everything. You know what I mean? Like if they're like, oh, he's trying to sound like this, they won't play another song. You know, or even if they do, they'll be listening to it as he's trying to sound like this now. What's this song sound like? You know what I mean? So it's just you gotta just rock with yourself. You know, find out, and that's the thing too. Is it's music, bro. So like experimenting is huge. You know what I mean? Like just figure out what is you. Figure out what you do naturally. Don't try and, you know, copy someone else's style or, you know, way of thinking in the studio or way of thinking about music. Just figure out what you think about music, you know? Figure out what you like.
I think that even goes beyond music, too. That's really good life advice to me, is just like, no matter what you're trying to do, you should figure out why you're doing it for you, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't love it first and foremost, then no one else is really going to care that much either. Like, if you want people to pay attention to what you're doing and, like, get them involved in what you're doing in your life, like, you really have to care about it more than anyone else to start with. So that's definitely awesome advice. Who do you think your biggest inspirations musically are, as far as like who has influenced you, who kind of inspired you to get into music? Any particular artist?
Well, I mean, for me, like growing up, you know, I had always listened to like Bow Wow and Snoop Dogg because they were, you know, Bow Wow was a kid rapper when I started listening to rap, you know, and it was just like it was like the little manifestation I had as a kid, like, oh, that could be me one day, you know what I mean? But like, so I grew up on Bow Wow, Snoop, you know, just a lot of like classic B.I.G., you know, like a lot of like rappers that are, you know, they have some substance to what they're saying. But I mean, for me, like then growing up, you know, Mac was huge for me. Mac, I feel like he did so much for music, and especially since like towards the end of his career, he was, you know, like in watching movies, he's rapping. You know what I mean? And then towards the end of his career, he's in a whole new lane. I feel like he kind of showed people that it's okay to like not only like for hip hop, like white rappers don't really fit that image, you know. So for him to be in that lane and then also be like, look, we can take it here, you know, I feel like it gave not only other rappers, but for me in particular, it gave me a whole like motivation to just be like, okay, well, if he did this and this and this, why can't I do this?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so it's just like people like that, people that really, you know, and he was so much to everyone, you know, and I feel like a lot of people that I draw inspiration from, unfortunately, aren't here anymore. Like I draw a lot of inspiration from Nipsey, motivation wise, you know, a lot of motivation from Pete, you know, just because what people saw while they were here was not what people see of them now. You know, and I've always kind of had that feeling like at least for my family wise, like, because I don't really have a good connection with my family other than, you know, my girl and my son. So like I've always felt like one day, like, I'm not going to be here, and that's when you guys are going to realize, like, oh shit, we were wrong. You know what I mean? Because no matter what I say to any of them right now, it goes in one ear and out the other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just feel like it's really just, I think it's awesome in a way, because it's kind of like I don't need anyone's approval anymore, and I'm grown, so it's like I don't need that anyways. But at the same time, it feels good not being like striving for that anymore. You know, striving for like someone else's acceptance, kind of like feeling like I had to prove something, like I was saying earlier. Like that's gone. You know, that's wiped. So it's like I got to thank quarantine for that. You know, I got to thank COVID for that, because if I was just working this whole time, you know, not taking time to kind of find out who I am as an artist, who knows where my album would be, you know, where I would be mentally, you know. So it's been a blessing in disguise, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that kind of ties back to what we were just saying about like really knowing what you want for yourself too. Like now you're able to just focus on like what do you want out of like your life and your career and everything, and that's the most important thing you can do. Like instead of trying to please like everyone else, you know what I mean? So that's great though. So out of the artists you just mentioned, or maybe anyone else, is there anyone you'd want to collab with one day that's kind of like a dream collaboration?
I mean, I definitely am. I don't really have people that I'd be like, oh, I'd love to work with them. Obviously, if a big name hit me up, that would come to mind. I'd be like, oh my god, I'd love to work with them. But like for me, I feel like I draw a lot of inspiration from like knowing what I can bring out of artists. You know, like I love like collaborating with an artist that like I feel like is one style, or like not one style, but kind of like just has like, I haven't really heard them like open up on a track. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like when people collaborate with me, they know that I want to bring something like real to life, you know, and then I'll work with an artist and they're bringing out a whole different side of them I never even thought, you know, and so we're bringing something to life that we didn't see, and I draw a lot of inspiration from that, being like, oh, if I worked with this person, we could probably make something great. But as far as like who I'm like looking forward to working with, or like would love to work with, honestly, I don't think I have one. Because it's just like, for me, it's like I've done music this whole time alone. Like I've had the opportunity to meet some like dope producers and stuff like that, who, you know, I can get beats from and all that. And like I've had a dope photographer who I was, you know, who a lot of like my photo shoots were with, who I've been super blessed to work with. But creatively, I feel like I can bring things to life that I want to bring to life. And then like for this album, for instance, I had a lot of choruses and verses that I'm still early in my career, you know what I mean? So equipment wise and talent wise, I'm not where I see myself a few years from now. And so if I have a chorus, I don't want to sell that and just be a ghostwriter. You know what I mean? I would rather use that chorus that I love so much, but find an artist that can help me bring that to life. You know what I mean? And help me create the song that I'm imagining in my head with this chorus or with this verse, and having that be my song instead of selling it, being a ghostwriter, and saying a one-time payment for that verse or that hook or melody, whatever it may be, and then giving it away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where a lot of my kind of dream collab would be, is just, you know, seeing what, because if anyone hits me up, I'm down to work. You know what I mean? I'm down, like, I'll get it to you in a few days, but at the same time, I'm not waiting on anybody. You know what I mean?
To me too, that makes it like a whole lot more special too. If like you're the one that's coming up with everything, and like it's for your like music, you know what I mean? Like it'd be a shame to just give that, like you just said, give it to someone else, and then like you only see like a little bit of like return on that and everything. And not only that, like with your collaborators, I feel like you want to bring them into what you're doing and just like have them be a part of what you're creating and everything. That's kind of like the whole like goal in mind. And I know from what I've heard from your music, like your music is very personal and very like you open up about a lot of like your personal experiences and everything. So like you just said, I think it would be like very important for whoever you're doing a song with to kind of bring their own thing to the table, you know what I mean? And just kind of try to work for
and
that.
With this album, bro, I literally, like I said, the intro, the little skit in the beginning is what I saw while I was having a heart attack. You know what I mean? And so every single track relates to the next track. The previous track relates to the next one relates to the previous one, and there's a whole storyline throughout it, because I feel like albums that did that were my favorite albums. You know what I mean? I look back on those albums and I'm like, holy shit, that was crazy. You know? And for me, it's like, as a, like, people that I've had mix and master this for me and help just bring it to life, you know, they were even like, how did you come up with this? You know? And it's just like, as a new artist, because like I said, I'm still in the beginning of my career, I feel like if you do something like that, if you drop a full album and, you know, have a plan with it, I feel like sky's the limit. But if you're just dropping a project just to drop, and then, you know, you're not pushing it, or you're not, you know, even selling it to people the right way, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier, like you can make a beat, you can make a song, but it's about how you present it. You know what I mean? And that's what I even put the rated R movie symbol on my album cover, just because it literally, I wanted to create something that was more than just an album. You know what I mean? I wanted there to be a storyline. I wanted there to, you know, each like at the end of some songs, like I have basically a narrator who's like a demon in my head, basically, just kind of like guiding me through shit and like trying to get me to basically sin and getting me to, you know, live life a certain way. And it's just about like breaking that, you know what I mean? And I feel like before I had a heart attack, bro, I was not focused on like who I was as a person. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, I'm going to school, playing baseball, that's it, you know, and that's it. So it's like, it's a whole lifestyle change. It's going from one person of who I used to be to a whole other end of the spectrum of where I'm at now. You know, where I was fighting for people's acceptance and like begging my parents as a kid to like just give a shit, you know what I mean? To where now it's like, I'm good, you know? And it, like, my last song on my album is When I'm Gone, and it's touching on like what we were just saying, how, you know, one day I'm not going to be here, and that's when you guys are going to realize, like, oh, this is what he wanted, you know? So it's crazy to, like, work with artists that, you know, I look up to from even my own hometown, like, people that have worked on this album with me, and just seeing, like, their reaction to, like, one song, you know what I mean? And, like, one little narration. And it's just, it gives me, like, it gives me a lot of like even more motivation to keep going. You know what I mean? Because regardless how this album turns out, or regardless like the feedback, it's just the beginning. You know what I mean? So I'm telling a whole story in this album, but the very last sound that you hear on the album is a page turning. So
like the next chapter.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like it's not over, you know. So, and that's what's dope. Is like I feel like one of my biggest motivations, and I heard Russ say this, is like one of my biggest motivators is my future self, like knowing what I can bring to life with this, you know, and that's what I was trying to do with this album for sure.
Nice. Well, I definitely am like you. I love an album with like a story and like a real narrative, and everything like fits together. And like the fact that you got skits in there, I'm ready to hear it because I'm like,
exactly, bro.
This sounds like it's right up my alley, honestly, as far as like a full album goes. Because I know albums are kind of becoming like a lost thing in a lot of ways. Like a lot of people are shortening, they're doing like EPs, or they're just putting out like singles. So it's good to hear. I think that you have still kind of that love for like creating a full body of work that like really has a meaning. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because I feel like that's where. Like I said, that's where that's why I found love for music, was being like, I'm listening to a movie with my ears. You know what I mean? I'm seeing, because everyone's vision of a dream or everyone's vision of a place, they're at a different place looking at that thing. You know what I mean? So if we're talking about the Eiffel Tower, where I'm viewing it in my head and where you're viewing it, they're different. You know what I mean? So to be able to bring something that no matter who you are or where you're from, if you listen to something and it brings you to that same place, you know, I feel like that's so dope.
Yeah, that's like
because you're literally like giving people a movie that they're seeing with their ears.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. And that's just like bringing your fans into your world, like we were talking about. Just bringing your collaborators, like you're bringing everyone into the same thing, and that's like the beauty of music, and that's like only music can do that. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Only a few more questions here for you. Let's kind of shift to the business side for a minute. What do you think has been the biggest, I don't know, struggle, or like as far as balancing finances, as far as music? And I know you have a family, so you obviously have, you know, expenses with your family and all different kinds of things. Has there been anything that you've struggled with or found that is kind of an issue so far?
For me, I mean, music is expensive. You know what I mean? So for me, like, I'm the main breadwinner of my family. Like, my girl, since the birth of our son, she hasn't been able to go back to work, just because we had a pretty crazy birthing experience. So really, like, getting a whole album out and mixed mastered professionally, you know, auto-tune, all these things are mad expensive that people don't realize. Like, professional auto-tune's $500. You know what I mean? And that's just to download it. That's not knowing the knowledge to use it. And knowledge isn't free either. You know what I mean? And so I'd say that's the hardest part, is trying, because I've wrote so many songs that I just don't have the ability to bring to life yet. Because I don't have, whether it be the equipment or whether it be just like the talent yet to bring those to life. But for this album, like, I was really blessed to work with people who helped me do that. But again, like, to get those people to help you, it's not free. You know what I mean? So I paid for some big features. You know, I won't get into that, but like, that's expensive. You know, working with other artists is expensive. It's not just, oh, they like a song, they're willing to get on it. It's like, you got to pay them even to hear it. You know, pay them to understand your idea that you want to bring to life. So yeah, and then especially business-wise right now, you know, not being able to perform, you know, that's, even if you make $50 from a show, that's $50 that you made in one night from your music alone, you know. And after my last two shows, I drew so much inspiration from them, just because you're in a different mindset when you're performing, you know what I mean? So that's, I'd say, like, the business financial side is crazy that people don't really realize when it comes to your favorite artist putting a song out. Because a single song can cost you $800 plus. So it's really all dependent on what you're doing outside of the studio, which is hard as shit out here with everything going on.
Yep.
So I've seen a lot of artists that I think their stuff is dope, and then they just don't have a place to record, or they don't have the equipment, or they had to sell their equipment, and you see things literally, you see dreams dying just because people can't afford it, and that's like, for me, like going to school, trying to play baseball and work and afford food and everything that I was doing back then. It's the same thing, going to school, and like, people are blessed that don't have to work outside of going to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many people that their parents are like, oh yeah, we're going to take care of them to go to school, and boom, then they're set, right? But then it's like, okay, then they got to get a job, they got to put that to use somewhere else, and that isn't free. During that time of when they graduate with the degree of their dreams to when they finally get a job, they're in debt. You know what I mean? And just like this whole album, like, I'm in debt from the album. You know what I mean? It's all like, regardless of if you play it safe or you chase your dream, you're in the system. You know what I mean? You're playing the game. And so that's why it's like, you've got to do what you love. That you've got to just like do your thing, do what you love, because that's the only thing at the end of the day that is going to make you happy. Because if you're becoming a doctor for your parents, or going to school for your parents, like I said, you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to be where you want to be. You're going to always be thinking, what if, and that's one way. Like, if I got a second chance from having a heart attack, that's one way I'm not going to live. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more, honestly, like, with that whole perspective, because I've been kind of like preaching that all the time. It's just like, you're gonna struggle no matter what you do in life. Even if you do like what you want to do, there's gonna be days where you wake up and you're just like, it's tough. Like, I don't have money this week. Like, how am I gonna afford this, and this? Like, we all deal with that sort of thing. It's just like, you got to figure out what you want, like we've been talking about, what you want for yourself, and like, just kind of come up with a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have like, just kind of map it out as best as you can. Like, life is unpredictable, but you just got to do the best you can every day and just give it your all. You know what I mean? That's just really what you got to do, I think, in my opinion. But and like, as far as like kind of like setting aside money like for music and everything, I think people don't realize that you kind of have to do what you do with bills. Like, for bills, you would budget out a certain amount of money for each bill, and you know what you need for, electric, your gas bill, whatever you're dealing with, if you're in an apartment or anything. You do that for that. Well, you should do that for music too. You should be like, I want to get an engineer for this, and this. I'm going to have money for the collaborators. I'm going to have money for the artwork. Like, you kind of have to have that plan as well, and that will help you out a lot more too. So
yeah, and especially like right now too, having that ability to put money aside for your creativity is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Knowing that, like, because the place that, like I said, since the birth of our son, my wife hasn't been able to work, and so we're in a house right now that's $2,750 a month. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of money to be making by myself, plus, diapers, formula, all these different things that come along with just, being a dad. And he's growing up now, and he's one in a couple months, so he's like eating real food now. So it's like, we're buying more groceries on top of, rent, on top of me trying to put out an album that's worthy of, everyone's attention. It's hard to be like, okay, I gotta make $5,000 this month in order to pay for my album, my studio time, my features. You know what I mean? And so I've been really blessed to work with a lot of people that, I like. A lot of people on my album, besides like 4, are local artists. So they, they're they know me. You know what I mean? And so we have more of a friendship instead of just strictly business.
Mm-hmm.
When you reach out to a bigger artist, you're business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not so focused on, oh yeah, there's this kid who wants to bring this to life. They're more focused on, okay, I'll do it, but this is my price.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you have that relationship with artists, they're like, yeah, let's bring this to life. We'll worry about all that down the line.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of something that I had to learn myself. Is like I think you start out and you want to work with like a lot of people that you look up to or you know very well and like you listen to all the time. But like I think it's very important to kind of be able to build from the ground up with people. You know what I mean? And just like start with people that are kind of where you're at and where you both want to go in the same direction too. And like you just said, like I think the collaborative process in that way is a lot better, honestly, because
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to make the music a whole lot better. It's not just like pay this person to just give you this feature and like that's it, and you never hear from them again. You know what I mean? But like either way, like I think just my overall like advice for the finance thing for anybody that kind of like struggles with it is just like have that plan as best as you can. I know like month to month is very different, even day to day is very different, especially now, like you said. But you just have to kind of know what you want and like just devote as much money to everything as possible and just do your best.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And as much as I do on my own, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to feel like. For me, like if I get something mixed by someone else, it doesn't come out how I imagined it. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's like I can do that myself. But when it comes to like making sure that it's if it's played through a phone, if it's played through a speaker, if it's played through your car, you know, there's a lot of different steps to make each one of those sound good. You know what I mean? And so, like, if anyone feels like they, are like doing everything alone, reach out to someone who has the knowledge and just like start a conversation. You know what I mean? And 98% of the time, probably, people will give free advice.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do something for free. They're not going to give you a free mix for free or something like that. But they'll tell you like what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like if if you have a vision for a music video or a vision for a song, like it's crazy what someone else's literally 2 cents can do to a song. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It can literally, and not only what it can do to a song, but what it can do to you as an artist. Like it can open up your mind to a whole different possibility for your career.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's really like sparking ideas too. Like you don't know if you get that other perspective, that's gonna, like you just said, just change where you might go in a totally different direction. You might not even know and make it totally better. You know what I mean? Make the song better, make whatever you're doing better. So that's definitely always take as much advice as you can and just kind of don't be afraid to reach out to people, like you said. So.
Don't be afraid to show that you don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Because everyone was there.
Yeah.
Everyone at some point didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. And two, like you'll never know everything. You know what I mean? You always need to keep learning. So just learn as much as you can. So if you could go back 10 years, Alex, to your past self, is there anything you would tell yourself like differently to do differently, or would you kind of keep everything the same? What do you think?
Yeah, man. If I could, I would honestly just tell myself like, follow your instinct. Like follow like if you're losing passion about something, it's because you have passion in something else most of the time. You know what I mean? Like if you, regardless of what you do, like whether it's, like if you're playing a sport and you don't love it anymore, there's something else out there for you. And if you're really pushing it on something that you're not passionate about, it goes back to that same thing of you're not going to wake up and love yourself. You're not going to wake up and love where you're at because you're doing something either for the money or for the approval of someone else. And it's like, so if I could tell myself anything, it'd just be like, you don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone's advice. like just follow your instinct, and you'll literally, like, anything that you feel is for a reason, I believe, you know? And so it's like, if you're in that position where you're like, this doesn't feel right, like relationship wise, career wise, anything, if you're at a place where you're like, this doesn't feel right, 99% of the time it is, you know? So I would just tell myself, like, keep going. You don't need that approval you're searching for, because all it's going to do is eat you up. You know, but it's going to make for a hell of an album. So
that's always good, I guess. So
yeah.
if we flip it then, and you could go 10 years from now, where do you think you want to be in your career, in life?
10 years from now, wow. I mean, I see it all. You know what I mean? I see everything that I want, I see. So it's like, I don't have a single doubt anymore. Like, I honestly, and that may sound crazy, like, I don't have a doubt in this anymore. Like, I know, like, with my, like, mentality and, like, with where I want to take this, there's going to be that lane, and it's going to be my lane. You know what I mean? And it's just about how you attack it. Like, it's like you said, have a plan and actually follow through with it. You know what I mean? So 10 years from now, I just tell myself, like, this is everything you wanted. You know what I mean? This is, regardless, I know people say, like, oh, once you make it, like, it's not what you thought, you know, and all that. And I get that. I completely get that, because you think, oh, money's going to take away this stress that I'm feeling every single day because I can't afford this or I want that. But it's like, at the same time, it's, you know, it's bigger than myself. It's bigger. Like, a lot of people don't take a deal because they are thinking about the future, right? And at the same time, a lot of people do take a deal when they're not thinking about the future. So it's like, you hear of so many artists that get signed and you never hear of them. You know what I mean? Because they never break out of that confinement that a label has on them. So it's like, 10 years from now, it's like, I would just tell myself, like, this is still the beginning. You know what I mean? I still feel like 10 years from now, that page is still going to be turning. Because 10 years from now, my son's going to be 11. You know what I mean? And that's, not only is that a life, that's a whole life who's now having a life of his own, but that's me going 10 years raising my son and going through adversity and trials and failure and everything, and still to, like, have the, like, awareness just to know, like, you still gotta keep going. You know what I mean? Like, not saying, like, Logic gave up, because that's not what he did, but I don't want to get to a point where I'm like, I'm so unhappy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to stop this. Because I feel like that's kind of what he's doing. You know what I mean? He's not happy with kind of how things turned out, you know? And not saying he did anything wrong, but just saying, like, everyone's experience with success is different. So it's really just like, the journey continues, you know? Like Nipsey said, the marathon continues. Yeah, so it's never over.
And I know 10 years is like a long way away, but it'll be here before you know it, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
But,
yeah.
So we've been talking about this album for most of the time. I know you have a date. Do you want to give everybody that date for when that's coming out?
Yeah. So Redemption will be on all platforms, all streaming platforms, October 7th of this year. And, yeah, and it's, honestly, it's a huge piece of work. It's a whole movie, literally in my perspective. And that's kind of what I wanted. You know, when you hear when a movie starts and you hear that big boom, boom, and you hear that, you know, that noise that just draws you in, that's all there. So when I drop this, I look forward to hearing people's perspectives and knowing, like, this is something everyone can relate to, because regardless of, like, even if you're the type that's like, oh, I'm never in that mood, or I'm never feeling like that, it's like, it's not just that, you know, this is a whole change of someone from, you know, feeling like they're nothing to realizing like you're everything you want to be. You know what I mean? So there's a whole transition of, you know, every mood that you feel going through that change. You know, so it's awesome. So yeah, October 7th, it's gonna be everywhere. Redemption. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I've worked my ass off for this thing. I've literally had it written, mixed, and mastered for 3 months now, and just putting it together, putting it in order, getting my skits together. You know, everything, just really making it everything I imagined it. Because, you know, for previous projects, I just, like I said, I had something to prove, you know, and instead of feeling like I had something to prove, I just wanted to present something that's literally like takes you on a trip. You know what I mean? Takes everyone to the same location, and they're watching the same movie. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to it, for real.
I can't wait to hear it too, bro, because, like, just the way you've been talking about it, like, I'm ready to hear that shit. I'm fucking hyped on it now, because, like, just the story behind it sounds incredible. So can't wait, bro. So where can fans find you on social media? I know you're on Instagram. Are you on anything else?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, you know, all that. It's Alex Live, you know, and if you have any advice or, like, any, you know, questions, I'm open to it. If you want to collab, I'm open. You know, I'm not at a point in my career where I'm charging for features, so I'm working with everyone. You know, and I'm not like, if someone has 200 followers and they hit me up, I'm not trying any less on that than someone who hits me up with 10,000 followers, because it's what I'm giving to you, and it's who. If you're asking me for something, I'm not going to give you a piece of, like, people, you know, people who are on, they charge different prices for a chorus, a hook, or whatever it may be. And so for me, it's like, I'll give you my all every single time, because I don't want you to expect something from me and be like, oh, like, I thought he was going to kill this, or I thought, you know, we were going to have a hit, because everything that I associate myself with, I want to be a hit. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so if anyone out there has, you know, anything they, you know, want to ask or anything like that, it's Alex Live on everything. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom, Alex?
Yeah, keep going, man. You know, when one door shuts, another one's always open. You know, literally the possibilities are endless. You know, don't think that just because you step on a mic the first time, or you step on the field the first time and you fail, that's not meant for you. You know, there's so many different lanes. Like, if you've heard, like, have you heard about how for, like, the hip-hop awards, they're going to do, like, subgenres now?
Yeah.
Because for there's classical rock, alternative rock, punk rock, all these different things. Like, there's so many different lanes of hip-hop that people don't realize, or so many different lanes of everything. And it's like in sports particular, like, you don't, just because you like one position doesn't mean you're not great at another position. You know what I mean? Or just because you want to be a producer doesn't mean you wouldn't be a great label executive. You know, it's like, you've literally just got to keep going, find your niche, and, like, run off with it, because literally it's in your hands. Literally, life is in your hands. And when I pray no one has to experience it, but when your life is literally told, like, when you're being told that your life can end at any moment because of something you can't control, it changes everything about you, because you're in a whole mind state of, wow, my life could be over. What did I do? What did I want to do? You know what I mean? And you can't give up. Like, you just gotta follow that instinct, follow that, you know, that voice in your head that's telling you, like, do this or do that, or, you know, be with this person, do this. It's literally your future is your life. And so if you look at your future as, oh, it's this, then that's all it's going to be. You know what I mean? And that's why when you ask me where I see myself in 10 years, I see everything. You know what I mean? I see it all because I don't have any doubt in that. I know that with my mentality, I'm going to keep going regardless. And it may not be this album. Like, this album could drop, and as much hope and everything I have for it and confidence that I know it will do good, it could be my next one. You know, it could be my next 18 tracks. It might not be this 18 tracks. It might be the next ones. So it's like, you've got to keep going because no matter what, you're the only one that at the end of the day can tell you, like, this is what I want. You know what I mean? If you're searching for, like, approval or something like that, it's never gonna be the approval you thought it would be. Even if you get that person telling you, like, oh wow, I love this, you're still gonna have that voice in your head that says, but what's more? You know, like, I've worked with people that loved a song, like, literally thought it was perfect, and then I would hear that song while I'm with them, hearing that it's perfect, and still being like, what else can I do? You know what I mean? Whether it's cut the beat for a second, you know, before I drop, or anything like that. You can always get better. You can always make your player a 99. You know what I mean? Even if you're a 60 right now, you can always become a 99.
Yep.
So it's, you know, and that's just the way I've chose to look at it, instead of being like, oh, look where I was, look where I lost, look where I am.
Yep.
You know, it's more, look where I am. You know what I mean?
Well, couldn't have said it better myself, and I think that's, like, the best mentality to have, man. So, but that's all I had for you today, Alex. I really appreciate you joining me, like I said again, and hopefully, like we talked about off the podcast, in the next year, we're going to be going out to California, meet up with you, and hopefully make this secret album that we're making. I'm not telling you guys what that is, but hopefully we can do that, and then hopefully we can do this podcast again, maybe in person, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, bro. And I appreciate you having me. I know, you know, it's busy as probably all hell for you. But, you know, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you letting me talk about the album and, you know, letting people know a little bit more about me. So
yes, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Yep, and we're looking forward to that album. We're going to all check it out,
I
hope so.
All right, I appreciate you, bro.
All right, peace, bro. Have a good one, man.
Have a good one.
Thank you guys once again for listening today. That was episode 15 of the Creators Series. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Thanks a lot.